Yes, we all know the recipe to get back into the groove of things for the Philadelphia Union, and that's to face off against the New York Red Bulls, or should we say New Jersey. Welcome, everyone, to today's edition of PHLY Union Podcast. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed their Labor Day. Of course, I'm one of your hosts here today, JP Zapata, joined as always, Renee Washington and Andrew Frazier. What a great weekend, huh? Labor Day, the Union, the Red Bull. What else can we ask for? How we feeling, folks? How we doing?
Feeling good, feeling great. Had a great Labor Day weekend. Had a lot of fun. Drank a couple pops with some buddies, enjoyed it. Obviously, the Union winning was a great win. A much needed win that we needed, so exciting that happened against a team that I don't think has let up 3 points at home yet this season.
First home loss this season.
Pretty wild. So,
that makes it even better.
And then today, beautiful day, gorgeous weather outside. So,
oh my God, yeah,
living it up.
How are you,
Yeah, guys, the fall is here. It's happening. It's September. My birthday's this weekend.
Hey.
Saturday, but it is great because this time of year I love the weather. I love when you get the coolness, the light breeze. It's a light hoodie weather, and not to mention we're starting to close the regular season is winding down, so we're starting to look ahead towards playoffs and what that's going to look like just in general. Maybe not for the Union, but just in general, we're looking ahead for playoffs. But I love the fact that we got a great weekend, a holiday weekend where we got to see the Union win. The Phillies won. Football is back. College football's already started.
Let's go.
Beautiful. Everything is right in the world right now, for now.
Right. And it's funny because obviously on the Gargano show in the morning with Frazier and I, Cuz is always bringing up, football's here, Red October, right around the corner. But it's like, let's not forget that it's like a half blue October and November, because obviously the MLS Cup playoffs, we don't have a consistent schedule yet. But hey, we have a red and blue fall, and that's what we're all excited for. But yes, beating the Red Bull. It's funny because guys, for a lot of Union fans, and especially in our age demographic, who've been fans since 2010, we all remember Titi Henry, Bradley Wright Phillips, these type of players that would come into Subaru Park or back then Talent Energy or PPL, however long you've been a Union fan, and they would always beat us. And it was so frustrating. And from day one, we always hated the Red Bull. And now you turn the page on decade number 2 in Union history, 14 games unbeaten straight against the Red Bull.
It's flex.
Yeah, right?
Big flex.
It's crazy how times have changed. But listen, I know the season's been up and down. It's not been the most fun roller coaster you've ever been on. But, beating the Red Bull, put a smile, guys. Get excited. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the great part about it is also how they beat them. I love the fact that you got a game where the Union jump out, get the early lead off of the beautiful goal by Mikael Uhre, who's been fantastic so far ever since getting benched and moved out of the starting position. And now that he's been back as a starter, you could see that exactly as Jim Curtin mentioned, he wanted him to be more involved. He wanted him to get more touches. He wanted him to have more of an impact. And something that we've seen from Uhre is he's not disappearing anymore. He's someone you have to keep an eye on. He's making the runs. He's finding the ball. And even the goal he scored, it's 4 minutes in, you get a goal where you're taking a defender on, you're creating space, you're being aggressive, you're playing on the front foot, you're putting your team on the scoreboard. And so I love the fact that we're getting this breakout from Uhre, because him and Tai Baribo, who's also been breaking out in his own way, have been fantastic lately. And they've been a great duo. Daniel Gazdag, the offense in general has been really clicking, and to see them jump out to an early lead where now you can say, okay, 15, 20 minutes in, you're up, you feel good about it. It just takes a lot of pressure off. It takes a lot of stress and down to the wire. I mean, they've had obviously penalty kick shootouts and in Leagues Cup and ties and games where their goals are happening in stoppage time. So this was also nice to have a win where you can feel good about it from how they started all the way through. And just it was a solid performance with 8 games now left in the regular season. This also is feeling more like what we should hopefully see from the Union the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I think this is something that we kind of were talking about the last couple of weeks, is how important that Leagues Cup was for this team. And it wasn't about the whole goal winning the cup. Obviously, that would have been great. But what we were taking away from that is the fact that this is going to get this team to a place where they're competitive for the rest of the season. And I think we saw that, against the Red Bull. This team was prepared all around. They looked great from attack to defense. They all looked really good. And, it's pretty funny, but, I guess benching a player works because Uwa has been just playing outstandingly. And then I'm glad that we finally saw Ty and we actually brought him to the team and actually have him playing, because I think that dude might be the MVP of this season.
I love it, Frazier.
He's playing so well. So well. I mean, his knack around the goal to just always be ready to finish, set himself up with his feet, with his head. You see the feed from Gazdag, beautiful build up. What I also liked about all this, though, guys, is it's team goals. Like, we're getting a lot of really good combinations, 2, 3, 4 guys involved, and then the goal happens, or at least a great chance happens. Like, their offense has been creating a lot more, and you can see that confidence of, like, what Tai Baribo especially is bringing. When you have a guy like that that's consistently scoring goals every match at this point, that gives you so much confidence as a unit that, like, all right, the goal's going to come. Like, keep attacking, keep shooting. You can actually have somebody to rely on. And how long have we talked about this Union team needing the guy that in big moments, the guy that in down the stretch, can help you get a goal. And Tai Baribo is absolutely emerging as not only the MVP, but it makes me a little nervous to playing a little bit too well. The guy that you can actually like, all right.
Yeah, maybe slow down a little bit so we don't lose you.
Don't put too many goals up there, man. Jeez, we need to keep you around for a little bit longer. You guys bring up really good points, and I think that the big part of the Union's, I guess, resurgence since the end of July or beginning of July, like, it's been the goal scoring, it's been the production that you've had in the attack, and right now, Uwan Baribo, they have found that partnership. And you guys know me very well. Uwa, I'm extremely critical about, and listen, for good reason. But what you've seen over these past couple matches is a guy who's been engaged from the moment he steps on the pitch until the moment he leaves the pitch. And when I saw on Saturday against the Red Bull, this dude was playing like a center forward. Everywhere in the attacking third, this man was making those runs in that proper movement, and he was tenacious to the ball, attacking the ball. Renee, we always talk about that killer. Uwa had that killer instinct on Saturday night. And look, I don't know how far this team is going to stack up against the other squads in the East. Like, I still get worried about the Crew, about Cincy, about Miami, but they have a really strong starting 11. And, we've seen how this defensive mindset for this club has changed since Andre's been back. That's going to be there. That compact midfield, that'll also be there. But the goals, that's kind of the objective of the sport. You got to score those goals. And right now it's coming from Uwan Baribo. And one more point I want to bring up too, guys, that we haven't brought up is Gazdag hasn't really had the need to provide in the goal scoring. And I think that's a good thing, right? Because I think Gazdag later on down the line, you're going to have to call upon his number. So right now, Uwan Baribo getting that confidence, scoring those goals, and just building that chemistry is going to bode well. And Gazdag's going to have his moment. And I think come playoff time, this is going to be his defining Union moment in the blue and gold. So everything is kind of flowing really well. And, playing in that Red Bull match, it's a playoff-like atmosphere. It's a playoff-like feel. The Red Bull, they know you very well. Like, these teams are essentially identical now. Not having Emil Forsberg was big for the Red Bull because he creates a lot of scoring opportunities. And it would have been really cool to see Danley versus him, which we'll talk about Danley in a second, another great match. But the goal scoring opportunities is really what you want to take away from this match. And guys, we have 2 weeks off here, but it feels good right now for the U.
Living large.
And to you guys' point about, for the Red Bulls being the only team that was unbeaten at home, to also come in and score 4 minutes in and immediately take the air out of the stadium is so important, because you set the tone. Like, in soccer especially, you want to set the tone early. And what better way to set the tone than to score 4 minutes in and then to score again 10 minutes later? So in the first 15 minutes, it goes from 0-0 game, you're game planning, you're warming up, you're excited for a nice weekend matchup against a rival, to, oh shoot, we're down 2-0. And now we have to figure out what we're going to do to come back. And then when Andre Blake makes those plays like he made moments after Tai Baribo's goal to help to keep that lead, to keep that clean sheet, That is what we haven't been seeing, because the Union's offense was scoring, especially in the start of the season. The problem was without Andre Blake and net, their defense was very disconnected. And so you had a lot of 3-2, 4-2 games, and that's not sustainable. This league has so much talent, and it's such a long season. You cannot have these battles where it's always a shootout. And so now to know that their defense has been so much more organized and disciplined, even with, Nate Harriel's dealing with back spasms. All right, Olivier Mbaizo, next man up. You're ready to go. No problem. Like, so to see how they handled the pressure of that initial resurgence, because let's say Red Bull scores a goal minutes after Tai Baribo's goal and it's 2-1 again. We might not be talking about a Union win if they were able to get themselves right back in it, close that gap with so much time left in the game. So it was so important that they not only got the lead early, but they continued the high level. There was no drop off. And most importantly, they kept a clean sheet. And we haven't been seeing that enough of a full 90-minute game from the Union.
And real quick to that point, Renee, like we know, like the philosophy of the U, they want that lead early on. They want to get that first goal and they want to hold on to it and play their defensive style. That was a big factor there. They came out right off the jump, off the first minute with that intensity. And the Red Bull, the Red Bull did match it. It was like a good back and forth battle for like 20, 30 minutes. But, if the Union have the lead, it's very hard to take it away from them, especially when they're clicking on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to kind of highlight was Uhre in the defense in this game. He was actually a part of it, you know. And when you were talking earlier about him and your criticisms, JP, early on in the season, or about him in general, I'm right there with you. I've always been very critical of him in his play. He's been very lackadaisical. But to see him getting involved in not just the attack, but in the defense is a really good sign for this team moving forward.
And that's key. You need guys that are going to work on both sides of the ball. And we have criticized Uhre, but even like Jack and Quinn, Jack McGlynn and Quinn, although both Jacks could be criticized sometimes offensively. But in general, it seems as though at times you could see plays where the Union were defending with one or two guys. In transition, their backs were left on an island, especially their center backs a lot of times. And so now you're seeing them put the work in to get forward, but also put the work in to get back on defense. It's a lot more of what the Union are so, big on with their foundation of being a gritty team that's going to be hard to beat, hard to score on, hard to break down. And it starts with the front line. Julian Carranza was a great defensive piece as a forward. He was one that would play aggressive, get into tackle, and Uhre at times would just kind of float defensively. Now you're seeing him like dig in and actually be more of a defender. So now when you're winning the ball, also you're winning the ball higher up the pitch, you're winning the ball in more dangerous areas instead of it even having to get back to your back four. So you're taking pressure off of them by scoring, but you're also taking pressure off of your defense by they don't have to defend. Let your forwards chase, let your midfielders chase. We got plenty of subs in, which was also good to see, like a Jeremy Raffanello. You got to see obviously Quinn and Leon Flock. You're getting more even depth in that sense. So I do feel like it's a good point you bring up, Andrew. It starts probably on the defensive side of even the high work rate probably is why Uhre's playing better too, because it's translating into how he's attacking to have a little bit more aggression and confidence.
Let's be honest too. The man of the match was definitely the extra man on the pitch, and that was the woodwork. There was some divine intervention going on because they hit it 4 times. They almost had some goals. Yeah,
hey, listen,
got lucky.
Take the help where you can get it, right? And another point too is, guys, like I think we have the forward recipe here, right? Like I love having Baribo in there for 90, and then I love having Uhre. In this case, it was for 73 minutes, right? And he played it hard for 73 minutes. And then while you have these tired back lines, here comes Sam Adeniran, and he's coming out there full force, looking to create a turnover, create a scoring opportunity. And it's always going to depend on matchup, right? But if you start Sam and have Uhre come out for 30, that's fantastic. You have Uhre going in for 60. Here comes Sam for 30. That is the winning recipe. That is a recipe that took us all the way to the MLS Cup Finals. And I don't know if this forward group is as good as that forward group, but it is it's a solid situation to have right now, and that's what we've been asking for all season long.
Yeah, it gives you something to build off of. It gives you something to work around. And the Union haven't been having that type of depth as we've talked about in the front. In the back line, they've had, center back options of 3 different center backs before Damian Lowe was transferred. On the outside back, it's 3 different outside backs with Kai Wagner, Olivier Mbaizo, and Nate Harriel. They haven't had that depth in the midfield and up top. And now what that depth gives them is more of a strategic plan, that you have versatility depending on what the game calls for. If you need to go to a front 3, if you need to go to a more defensive lineup, if you need to go to maybe like a Sam Adamirian who's just going to work and create havoc and be all over the place. You have different styles of play that you can now implement. And I think that is also something that I've been enjoying that's been coming together. With more guys getting meaningful minutes, we're also getting more guys kind of learning their roles. And now when you have those late substitutions, it's not as much of a drop-off. It's just a change in how they're attacking or how they're defending. So that's been like super. That's a positive that we haven't had that type of a look from the Union of more of a battle for the starting 11, more of a battle for positions and minutes.
Right.
And that's the right way that this team should be constructed. And you know what also is the right way? You can make sure to take advantage of some great opportunities for products and medicine. It's with our friends over at Rite Aid. Let me tell you about our friends at Rite Aid, because with the fall season here means we also have fall allergies. They actually kick off in August, if you didn't know that, and they run through November. And there are different plants that cause it, such as tumbleweed, sagebrush, pigweed. There's also pet dander and fur that can cause allergies. Dust mites are a big reason behind it as well. So if you're dealing with any fall allergies that are causing the histamines to trigger your runny nose, the sniffles, the cough, sneezing, all the annoying symptoms that come with allergies and those allergic reactions when they occur, Rite Aid has you covered. You can sign up for Rite Aid Rewards emails at riteaid.com/rewards, where they will give you updates on pollen alerts and other things in your area. They also have some tips for you that Rite Aid shares, such as checking the pollen counts, keeping your windows closed, and using an air conditioner so you're not letting pollen in, wearing a mask if you're outside for a long time, especially if you're doing something like gardening, a dehumidifier, which helps, get rid of the moisture out of the air so that allergies do not grow in your house. So many things, not to mention the over-the-counter options like a nasal sprints and different medications you can take that Rite Aid has for you. And what I enjoy about Rite Aid is they also have the pharmacists that are there on staff to be able to help if you have any questions. Let's say you're not sure which aisle to go to, which medication to look for, recommendations, advice. They have pharmacists that are trained, educated, and can help. And they're very personable to be able to point you in the right direction. So Rite Aid, who has everything from the Elo Market, which gives you candy, snacks, pantry items, to also being able to tap into their refreshing, hydrating drinks and, coconut water and different things with their refreshery. You also have, outside of their line of beverages and outside of their line of snacks, they have everything. Sunscreen. I love their seasonal section that they always have of whatever holiday is coming up. Like right now, it's transitioning into more fall things that you can buy at Rite Aid. You can get ready for your Halloween candy stash or your fall decorations, which I am a sucker for myself. So head over to Rite Aid today, or even check them out at riteaid.com to see all the details on their medications that they have for allergies, their allergy relief, I should say, as well as even their pharmacy services to make sure you can take advantage of their My Pharmacy account, their mobile app, and much more with our friends over at Rite Aid.
That's right. Well, listen, fall allergies are the thing that sucks the most about the fall, but the thing that's the best part about fall is all the sports are here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have obviously soccer's going in full strength, not only MLS, but we got the Premier League back, La Liga, Serie A, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, whatever your choice over in Europe, it is back. You got baseball. Baseball playoffs are right around the corner. NFL football, college football is here. So obviously lots going on. And if you are feeling a little bit lucky, I want to recommend a little bit something to you. The BetPark Sportsbook app. All right, guys. Pro football and the Birds season opener is next Friday. It's already here. And the one and only sportsbook app I ever recommend is BetParks. And the BetPark Sportsbook app and online casino has a great offer for new customers to kick off the upcoming pro football season. An amazing 50-1 odds boost on your pick to win this year's Pro Football Championship. All new users who sign up and make a deposit receive a 50-1 super odds boost. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. Get odds boosted to 50-1. Yes, 50-1 odds. Here are the top 6 favorites to win the Pro Football Championship this upcoming season. The Chiefs, the Niners, the Ravens, the Lions, the Bengals, and yes, your Philadelphia Eagles. Download the BetPark Sportsbook and online casino app right now and get your 50-1 super odds boost on your pick for this year's Pro Football Championship. This is a limited time offer for new customers only. BetParks.com has terms and conditions. You must be 21, and in PA, New Jersey, Michigan, or Maryland, you play for fun. You love to win. You bet Parks. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All righty, folks. Feeling a little bit lucky myself with the U. All right. Although I will say, 2 weeks of no union soccer, it's gonna be rough here. We're at to figure something out for our soccer fixes here, guys.
Well, you can just focus on the NFL. Give it its weekend. You know, there's going to be a lot. You get the red zone going. You got YouTube TV if you have that. You get that going. You get all that stuff fun going, and then you just go back.
Selfishly, Apple TV. Can you give us that option, the quad screen? Like, that'd be sick.
I know.
Watch 4 MLS matches at once. Like, come on, give us that.
Oh, dude, I was watching college football this weekend, and I had it on the quad box, and it's the best experience ever. You don't have to flip any channels. You don't have to do anything. It's right there. You can watch every single game. I totally agree. Apple, do that for the MLS, please.
Renee would love the feature. Renee would love the feature where you can link your fantasy team to the Sunday ticket, and then
seriously though, because I do get updates on my fantasy players, and I have like the alert set for them. A little obsessive, but listen, we just 1 week went into the playoffs. I'm feeling great. If soccer can tap into some of that with what we see with like the red zone and college football, it would simplify things so much. There's so many games happening at one time, and flipping through the channels, or even what I try to do is have multiple screens, so TV, computer, phone. So I'm like watching this while I'm watching this just put it all in the same spot, because until we can afford to have like 3 TVs in one room, you know, we're not there yet, guys, in our lives. That's like a goal. But in the meantime, with the one TV I have in my living room, I'd like that one TV to have multiple games on it.
Well, Peacock and the Premier League actually did a really cool thing. It's called Goal Rush, and it's their version of Red Zone. So like on Saturday morning, you put the Goal Rush on, and if you just want to watch any assists or goals or anything that's happening, all the big moments of the games, it's right there. So Apple, they already have it made. They already have the format. Pick it up.
So much things they could pick up. I always say that one. I always said too, like a pregame show, like a college game day feel, because like I think the one thing people don't understand about the MLS is like there are some strong fan bases and very passionate fan bases that have created their own traditions in such a short period of time. So highlighting that, showing that off with the dope pregame show, I think it's something that we can definitely take advantage of.
Like an on-site, because they have the MLS has the, of course, league-wide shows, but it's in studio. It's not the same, to your point, as like a college game day where you're there with the crazy fans in the background and all the excitement. And maybe we'll have to kick that off.
Yeah, one day. I'll get there one day. But I think we should talk now about one of the newcomers, Danley Jean-Jacques.
Oh, yeah.
Very much anticipated first start. I will say, guys, was thoroughly impressed. All right. And if you guys missed it, Todd Lewis, great friend of the podcast, the Free Kick podcast, put out his breakdown on Danley Jean-Jacques. I did check that out because Todd just does a fantastic job with the union coverage in general. But I'm pretty excited. And one thing that's very interesting, and Renee, you and I have gone back and forth about El Brujo, but one thing that'll be interesting to watch with Jean-Jacques is he feels so much more composed with the ball. And you saw that first goal, made that nice first pass there that kind of set up that goal. But he seems more composed. But one thing that El Brujo has that I don't think Jacques has is that when you're going up against those teams that have those star players, and especially Brujo always had the tough challenge of going up against these really good number 10s that we have in this league. Like he brought that edge, that mental edge, that mental confidence that we're definitely going to miss. But yes, you know, aesthetically wise, seeing him and kind of with the low block creating an attack from that deep, he's definitely going to be a factor here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about him is he wants the ball. Like he's someone that goes and gets it. He's a true center mid. And so I think what El Brujo did as a 6, you're not going to get from a true more of like a 10 style center mid, because it's one or the other. You can't be the one that's defending the other team's best midfielder, and you are one of the better attacking midfielders. So I think what we're going to see more of is like a Leon Flock is going to be that guy. It'll be Ali Bedoya, Leon Flock, Jesus Bueno. They are the true middies that balance you. And I think now we're going to get more of Danley, who just wants the ball. He's all over the place. He's checking for, as you mentioned, with the goal that Ua scores. It starts with a very nice split pass. You're breaking lines of pressure. You're helping to get forward, and it's composed. We saw him taking guys off the dribble. We saw him keeping it. He's not just playing in 1 and 2 touches, but he's also, it doesn't feel unnatural. Like, I think at times when Jose was getting forward, to be honest, El Brujo's attack seems forced. It seems like I have space, I just have to go. Whereas Danley seems much more comfortable facing up, whether it's off the pass, off the dribble, making runs, joining into the attack. So I do think he gives them that true center midfield play that they've been looking for. He's not going to be a traditional 6, but I do think he has the ability of being that guy that can help switching the point of the attack, helping in transition, helping to get forward. And then on the defensive side, what's going to probably have to happen, and we saw that this past game, was just defending as a unit. It's just got to be everyone. It's not going to be as much just on like how Jose would kind of bail them out at times. And you'd see Jack McGlynn or Quinn Sullivan not tracking back and Jose kind of doing the work of 2. So I think we're going to get this midfield, and I know we touched on it last time, being truly like what a center midfield core is supposed to be like. Like your middies, whether it's 3 or 4, should be working together. One person's making the deep runs, one person's balancing you, the other 1 or 2, depending on if it's 3 or 4 in the midfield, are the possession oriented. So you have layers to how your midfield looks versus just being so structured, as I think is what Jose gave. And I feel like that's more modern soccer of free-flowing, interchanging midfield. So I liked what Danley brought, and I'm encouraged. This is his early game. Like this is how you start, is not how he's going to look once he gets comfortable, once he learns his teammates, once he gets to start to feel the love, the Union fan base and everything. Like, you should only go up from here. So if this is how he's starting, I am very encouraged with what he brings to the midfield. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very strong positive start to see what he's doing for his first full start. And, I think that composure that you guys are talking about it's because he played in a bigger league than the MLS. So he had competition that was a little bit stronger. He had to learn that composure on the ball. And, I think that's exactly what we needed. We need someone who's going to be able to maneuver the ball in ways, find those passes, find those assists that are going to help these guys score, who's going to highlight Ua, who's going to highlight Baribo, who's going to, a guy who's going to just make everybody better. And this is what he's going to bring to the table. And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what he has for the rest of the season and moving forward.
It's funny because like in all these sports, right? Like all the major sports, you're seeing like the evolution of players and positioning. Like you look at basketball, right? Like Victor Wembanyama, 7 foot, he's got handles like a guard, but he's truly a center, right? And like I'm looking at soccer these days, right? Like you look at a guy, and I know Andrew's gonna like this one, Jude Bellingham, right? Over in Real Madrid, the English superstar, right? Mm-hmm. This dude is huge, and in a different era, they would probably place him as a center back or as a 6, and like he could play as a 10. He could play anywhere in the midfield, and like I've heard like before he signed on, Danley could play like he could if he wanted to play as like a 10, like as an attacking midfielder. But obviously at this age, they probably want to play him as a 6, and that's obviously what we need right now to replace El Brujo. But Renee, you're talking about like that free flowing soccer. It really brings an exciting portion to this game as well. So I'm excited to just see the evolution, not only of Danley, but just these midfielders, and just like the evolution of just soccer players in general. As we got some great people in the chat. Franco, what's going on? Jose, you're 1,010% right, brother. 1.6 million feels like a robbery. Guy will be a stud. Obviously Andrew
matched him.
Yeah, obviously Andrew, you brought up his league prowess, right? Coming over from FC Metz and then bringing that over. But that's why, like Renee, in previous episodes, I always talked about wanting to get those type of young players from those big leagues because they played with such good quality on a week-to-week or match-to-match basis. And so I love that we're able to get that. What's up, Todd? Todd heard us talk about him. What's happening, brother?
That's so funny. You were just talking about Todd's great work he was doing covering Danley's play, because when you look at it, and shout out to you guys in the chat as well for the work that you're doing in the comments. For Danley, he is exactly the type of play you see from a center midfielder in European soccer, for example.
Yeah.
We see it across. There are MLS teams that have that. The Union, to be honest, we're not that type of a team. It was very much down the wide flanks, and it was very much back to front. So they were bypassing their midfield a lot of time. The midfield was just kind of the clog in transition, especially to help defensively. And to see Danley, and we did see him tracking back a lot defensively too. Like he did put in the work on the defensive end. We saw the pace that he brings. He's explosive. He anticipates well. There were plays where he's just running through the ball and beating somebody to it because he just is reading it well and then able to get there. So he gives you good pace. But also I do like the fact that we saw him at times being deep into the attack, making that high run, overlapping the forward. So if Sam Adeniran checks back and Danley overlaps him and becomes a higher forward like player for you. So he gives you that true dynamic play that allows you to actually play through the midfield. And I know we've talked about that. That adds a layer. So yes, the Union can score off of set pieces. They can score off of flank services, but now you can also score by just breaking them down. You're building up through your midfielders of Danley and Quinn and Jack, and if it's Jeremy Raffanello off the bench, Ali Bedoya, your midfield has that creativity level where you can combine through them. And I think it takes the pressure off of Danny because, to be honest, Daniel Gazdag, for example, now has Sam Adeniran, Mikael Uhre, and Tai Baribo, who are putting so much pressure on opponents' back lines, stretching them, making runs, scoring goals. Mm-hmm. You now also have behind him a midfield group that can truly control the tempo, can find him in little, like Dan. You saw Danley at times finding Daniel. It's a lot of Dan's in there. Danley to Daniel. Like little slip passes that we weren't seeing before. So now for Danny Gazdag, he can receive the ball in better spaces and it doesn't have to be forced. And I think this offense now, when we talk about them combining better, it's just more fluid. It's more like free flowing. It's more natural progression. It's not forced passes or too direct. It's how soccer is supposed to be played. And that's the evolution of this team. But the rest, like a lot of clubs, to your point, Andrew, were already playing that way. That's why Danley brought that over, because that's what he's used to. That's what, like, I just did a Barcelona game this past weekend for women's Barcelona match. And it was beautiful soccer to watch them ping through the midfield. Like, that's the evolution we need to see from the Union of how are you combining through your middies to break down opponents, to unbalance them. And I like that Danley brings that edge and that soccer smarts of being able to be that guy that you see it already in one game, especially you saw already how that gets the rest of the team also on that same mindset.
It's crazy. It's crazy what, bringing new fresh people into the organization is what happens, that chain event, you bring someone in like him and you can actually use your midfield, and it's just crazy. And, it's hopefully this is a sign for, people who are, above and making those big decisions are like, see, this works. We can continue doing that and we can continue bringing in new people, continually making it fresh and exciting. And you're not the same stale offense that you usually are.
Yeah, and there's versatility in that midfield when you guys think about it too. Like, and to your point, Renee, like there are going to be those teams again that are going to force the Uni to possess the ball. And when you need to do that, it's helpful to have a guy like Danley who is so comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he's great vision at that young age too, and it's so big. But like, if you need an attacking oriented midfielders, you got Danley at the 6, you have Quinn at the right, you have Jack at the left. If you want more defensive minded midfielders, you still have Jesus Bueno at the 6, you have Ali at the right, and you have Leon at the left. So depth is another thing that we were killing this team for. So being able to have some depth pieces and guys who could push one another, that's important. That's really what made the Union so good over these past couple of years until we stopped really investing into that depth with the transfer market. But right now this midfield does look very versatile, and that's extremely important to have. Franco does have an interesting question here. Do you think Danley will ensure that Bedoya will be back next year? He was surprised to hear he wasn't retiring as most expected. I'll let you guys start off with this one.
I don't know
that Danley impacts the future for Ali Bedoya in general. Like I think Danley to me was somebody brought in, like the conversations around El Brujo's departure didn't just start when we heard the news. It had already been happening. So I think they were already planning to bring Danley in actually almost as, I won't say full on replacement, but an addition to the midfield, knowing that somebody was probably going to go, because we had heard Leon Flock, we had heard Jose Martinez, and to your point, Andrew, just to bring in some fresh personnel, just to bring in somebody different. Like this team needed Sam Adeniran and Danley Jean-Jacques. You needed these guys because you needed someone different that adds, like I am thoroughly enjoying what those two have been providing to the attack. So I don't feel like he's here to in any way keep or push Ali Bedoya out of his role. I think he's just that they needed more depth, but they also needed more versatility. They needed some new personnel. And, you know, I feel like for Ali, his role right now works. So I think that's the other part of it. And I know, Franco, you're saying because of the fact that Ali does speak French, so the two of them can connect in that way of speaking the same language. That's a great point. I think that what we're seeing with Ali Bedoya, and we haven't talked about him as much, is he's rolled out this very new role of player coach, leader, and kind of like the ultimate utility piece. Like he can start and you can still trust him to start because he's good enough to do so, but you don't have to put as much on him. He doesn't have to be a 90-minute player. He doesn't have to be the guy that's winning you games or anything like that. But he's the guy that can give you great minutes sparingly. And so I wouldn't be surprised, as we had heard the 1-year deal for him this year as that player coach, that maybe they feel like this works for him. And it could happen that they could decide, okay, this works. And if I'm staying in this role, yeah, I can do another year. I might have more gas in the tank. But I do think that prior to this season, why the retirement conversation came up was also because they were trying to still have him be what Danley is or what Jack is. Like, that's not Ali Bedoya anymore. He shouldn't be controlling your midfield. He shouldn't be your best center midfielder with the biggest minutes that you're relying on. He's a complementary piece. So with his new role, I think this could actually extend his career if he wanted to, versus last year where it was like, you know, we saw the awkwardness at the end of the season of the murmurs, the quick conversation, he won't be back. I think they just had to refine how he adds to this team. So I think it actually does help Ali in that sense. You don't have to rely on him. You can have him come off the bench. You can have him start, and you can now rely on your younger, you know, quicker, more aggressive, in their prime midfielders.
Yeah, so I think you're totally spot on. I think whatever happens with Bedoya and his future with this team is kind of on him. Does Danley impact it? In some way, yes, he does. And I think there's a lot of, like, you could go through the pros and cons of like having him here, and I think there's a lot of positives with having Danley here in that position, because it does help Bedoya not have to be that guy anymore that you were just saying, Renee. He can kind of sit back a little bit. He can be in your reserve. He can be a coach. He can help out in those regards, like he has this year. But like with him staying, like I said, I think that's totally up to him and what his approach. It has nothing to do with Danley and what his game.
That's interesting you guys bring up, because like we don't really talk about like how beneficial it is to have a captain like Alejandro Bedoya. Like how many players have arrived here to Philly and he's just like that bridge guy. You just brought up Danley and being able to speak French with him, making him feel comfortable in his first start. So big. But how many of the Latino players that came here, like El Brujo or Julian Carranza, and he made them feel comfortable? Heck, even like Jakob Glesnes, because of the Norwegian connection with Ali's wife being from Norway, him also, or Jakob obviously being from Norway too. So like him being like so integral of all these new players is probably a reason why some of these transfers are hitting, because dude, like a lot of these players are coming to a brand new country that they don't even know the language, don't know the culture, and having him who, listen, he is Philly soccer through and through. Mm-hmm. That man is Philadelphia soccer. And so being able to have that guy kind of, you know, work you into the Union style, the Union way, I think is extremely important. Now, for him coming back next year, it is going to be interesting. I don't think it has to do anything with any player. But, guys, he has this year, he's got MLS play, guys, not the other competition, just MLS, the competition. 11 starts this year and 23 matches played. He's played over 1,100 minutes at his age. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. Now, obviously, the last 2 years, last couple seasons, health has really been an issue for him to finish out the year. We'll see how he finishes out the rest of the season. And also, too, I mean, if the Union somehow, some way, knock on wood, win MLS Cup, I just don't see Ali coming back, right? Like, there's no way. Ali, if they win MLS Cup, that's it for Ali. He's riding off on the sunset with the MLS Cup trophy. Like, I just don't see him coming back. But it is definitely something interesting. Like, before the year, I probably was like, this is it. This is last year, no matter what happens. But now watching him play, you could, if they don't win this year, you could bring him back like an Aurelien Collen type. Obviously, Renee mentioned that he's obviously like that player coach out there, which is extremely beneficial. So it is going to be interesting to see. That was a good question, Frank. We appreciate it.
That was a great question. Yeah.
I would love to have him back. I think he's a great addition. I know Franco is saying the same thing. Like, it'd be great to have him back. And you bring up an awesome point about his ability to kind of cross over and help with just getting this. He's a big part of this team's culture, the chemistry, bringing in new players. You have someone like Danley Jean-Jacques who is coming from a different country. And now Ali, who's very well-versed in and has a lot of experience in soccer and around the world, can help be that bridge. So his role is bigger than what he does on the field. We know that. And so I think, as we're saying, it comes down to, like, what does he feel like works for his future and planning for him, his family. And you know where you can plan for you and your family? With our friends over at TrueMark. So with our friends at TrueMark, they have everything you need to help prepare, whether it's their debit card that earns you rewards points or being able to utilize their mortgage specialist that they have on hand to help with any sort of guidance on loan options and terms. They also have for you some different savings accounts and their Visa credit card, and they give you lower rates, better fees. So now you can focus on managing and building your credit score, getting your finances in check, knowing where your money's going, being able to save and plan for the future. But also with our friends at TrueMark, they're having a pickleball tournament this weekend. That's right. On the 7th, my birthday, which I've said several times. So if anybody forgets it, dang. TrueMark Financial Care Foundation is hosting a charity pickleball event to raise money for financial education in our local communities. The event is going to be this Saturday, September 7th at the Upper Dublin Sports Complex in Ambler, Pennsylvania. It's from 1:30 to 5 p.m. And it's going to be a round-robin style with certified pickleball pros on site. So that way, anybody that's new to the game, doesn't matter. You have a pro there that can help you. They will also have paddles and balls available to use for free. And the cost to play is $50, and that benefits the charity. All players do get a swag bag from TrueMark, as well as from us at all PHLY. And then you get an opportunity to, if you wanted to, sponsor. Your company can sponsor and get your logo on display at the event. There's a variety of sponsorship packages that they have that range from like $200 to $1,000. And not if you maybe want to go just to support, but you're not a pickleball person, that's also not a problem. There will be food trucks, beer trucks. They will have games like cornhole, lawn games, 50-50 raffles, chances to win prizes and giveaways. Plus, there will be music on hand. So even if you're not playing in the tournament, it makes for a fun Saturday. Just go out and hang. We will have people from PHLY there in attendance, where you guys can also hang with some of us at the pickleball tournament and be able to support a great cause, as financial literacy is very important in the community. So the best part is, as a friend of ours at PHLY, you get a 10% discount on registration. So register at truemark.com/PHLY pickleball, and that will get you 10% off of your registration. Again, truemark.com/PHLY pickleball to get 10% off, to register today and have fun this Saturday at the TrueMark Pickleball Tournament.
I love it, Renee. Listen, they're going to be having fun at that tournament. You know who wasn't having fun? Those Red Bull fans in Red Bull Arena thought they were going to get another home win, finally beat the Philadelphia Union. They said, not today. The U got the dub. And they were a little upset. They needed to chill just a little bit. You know what they could have used, ladies and gentlemen? They could have used a nice ice cold can or bottle of Coors Light. All right. And that's our friends over here today. We're talking to you guys about Coors Light. Look, this weekend, it was a beautiful weekend, guys. All right. Let's not deny it. Right. Great weather for Labor Day. I myself was sitting back relaxing. I actually went to a concert Saturday night. I went right up to the concession stand. I looked at the bartender right in the eyes. I said, "Sir, I need a Coors Light right now. Please first, of course." All right. Because, guys, Coors Light, it's the beer of choice for myself when I need to sit back, relax, and chill. Because when the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. And Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for that much smoother finish that we love. And when you embrace that chill mindset like myself, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open that can of Coors Light. Coors Light is a mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. And right now, they're helping us out, all right? We all love going to the beer store or the liquor store and getting our beer, but Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we want to sit back right as the game is going on and get it delivered right to us. But right now with CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer, you can deliver right to your front door. All right. Using with Instacart. That's what they're using. So again, we all like to go to the liquor store, but get it delivered today. Go to CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And while we're giving some shout outs here, guys, real quick, Renee, Andrew, we got some love over the weekend. All right.
Yeah.
Quick shout out, big thank you to our friends over at the Philly Mag, who rated us the top union podcast in a city with such great union content creators and podcasters. We are extremely humbled and thankful for the nod there. We're only getting started here. All right, we're only getting started, but a big thank you and a big shout out to the Philly Mag for showing us some love there. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a great article to read by Laura Swartz. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, of like five Philly sports podcasts to check out instead of listening to talk radio. There has been a shift in the city of just not even a full-on shift, but I would say additions in the city of adding more places to get your content. Yeah, you can always listen on talk radio. You can also watch on TV. But if you wanted to, there's also more and more podcasts. I know we have some of our podcast friends in the chat, guys like Todd and Jose. And, there's so many great people out that are creating content, covering the team, following all the great things, giving you updates in a way that fits whatever you're looking for. So that was great to see that moment of just getting some love. And there's so many people that could be on that list, and definitely honored that our show was on it. So thank you, Laura and Philly Mag. And I'm glad you brought that up, JP, because we appreciate the love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely did not contribute to any of that. So
it's
all on you two and Tyler. So you guys have been doing some really great stuff, some really great content, and I'm really happy to be here working with both of you. So
yeah, man, it's a great addition.
Franco, it's nice to have you as a diehard supporting. We appreciate you too. Our diehards that are here checking us out, listening on podcast platforms, following us, attending our events that we have at PHLY in general, like you guys are what keep us going. It's all about the community that we've got. So super appreciative of you and everybody that's a diehard that's rocking with us.
Love the diehards.
Diehards are the best. We love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, guys, any last thoughts on the Red Bull match before we get into some international break stuff?
I think we hit it. I think we hit everything. We beat them. And that's the best part. But if you look at it real quick, if you just want to know real quick, some like kind of update of like standings and whatnot. We are officially in 10th right now. The Union are in 10th. They are a point behind Atlanta. Atlanta's got 31. We have 30. That is the final spot. That ninth seed is what you want. If you look up the list a little bit from 9th, you got Toronto at 33, Orlando City at 37, Charlotte at 38. Very manageable number for the Union to get, especially if they've been playing this way, if they continue to keep playing this way. I could see them falling into that 5 or 6, I'm going to say, for the playoffs.
Yeah, so here's the standings that Andrew was talking about. So, yeah, you guys can tell. 10th place, the U, right there.
Right on their heels.
To your point, guys, about the standings, that's also why this win was so important, because you knock off Red Bulls, who are sitting 4th in the East right now. So to be able to steal points from a team that's ahead of you is also a great way to be able to close the gap a little bit more. Some of the other results around the league, you look at NYCFC lost to Columbus Crew. A team like what you almost want to have happen is like you need some help too. So if a team like the Columbus Crew, who's currently in 3rd, them, Inter Miami, and of course even Cincinnati, who are top 3, they keep beating teams. Don't allow those teams to get 3 points against you. Keep beating teams, and then if you can get the Union to keep winning, like that also can help. You just got to get in to the playoffs and then go from there. So like Charlotte lost to Atlanta this weekend, 1-0. Could have been cool if they just tied and they both get 1 point, but that's fine. You at least Charlotte, who's ahead of you, doesn't get 3 points, even though Atlanta does. So that win actually kept Atlanta over the Union in that 1 point, because they were able to get 3 points. FC Cincinnati wins 4-1. So when you look at the other results, you need some help. Orlando City beats Nashville 3-0. Would have loved Nashville to upset them and knock them off. Instead, Orlando City, who's sitting in 7th, gets 3 points on the weekend. So gotta like do some table watching now of what the other results are around the league to see who the Union can pass and who can they get some help from, because Chicago, Nashville, New England, like, we need you now. Now's a great time. As the Union keep winning, they need to upset some teams, those bottom teams, or the very top teams that, like an Inter Miami, who with 59 points, you technically have teams that can catch them, but they're not looking like they're going to slow down anytime. So it is now table watching time. 8 games left, and every game matters that much more. Plus, they play a lot of Eastern. I mean, it's all Eastern Conference teams they play moving forward for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, let's not be foolish. Obviously, the next game is very, very big. Inter Miami.
You got 14 days to prepare.
You got 14 days to the 14th. But
Yeah.
if you can just get 1 point out of that, that is realistically a really good thing for them to do.
Nah,
so
take the 3 points.
Guys. 8 games left. They play Inter Miami, NYCFC, DC United, Atlanta, Orlando, Columbus, Cincinnati. You're playing all Eastern Conference teams. I thought it was all Eastern Conference teams that are in the race with you for the playoff spot. Mm-hmm. Realistically, what do you think they have to go in these 8 games? What does their record need to be in these 8 games, in your opinion, to lock in a playoff spot?
Oh man, they got to go 500, right? At least
it's not going to be easy. I mean, like, I think besides DC, they're all playoff teams. Miami, NYCFC, Atlanta, Orlando, Columbus, Cincinnati. These are all playoff teams. So this is not going to be easy. But again, like, it's 1 point behind Atlanta right now, 2 points behind Toronto. Like, 3 points behind Toronto. There's no reason why the U should be able to jump. They should be able to jump both those teams right there. Now, obviously, the schedule is not very favorable, but if you kind of look at the way the Union are playing right now, they have some confidence, and they should be able to at least get some results against these teams. Now, the Miami one's going to be interesting. Now, I wonder where Miami's going to be at as well. They are starting to pull away a little bit on that supporter shield, but we'll see what they're going to be playing for in 9 days. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little nerve-wracking. We haven't really been in this situation in a minute here in Union Nation. So, but I think overall they should be able to at least get 7 points. I would say 7 points at the minimum.
If they can win 4 or 5 games, they can win 4 or 5 games. I think.
I was gonna say they need more than 7. So you're saying, like, I mean, of course, as we know, the 7 can be 4 ties and a win. Like, there's more than one way to get that combination. I think in 8 games, when you look at these matchups, as we talk about DC United being the only team that's not in, as of now, the top 8, and they're 11. They're still not out of, nobody's out of it. That's the difficult thing. Like, even a Nashville who's got 26 points right now, and Chicago who's got 20. Well, 3 teams have 26. Excuse me. Nobody's out of it. So I think realistically, you said 500, Andrew. Yeah, like, if you can steal a point against Inter Miami and get a tie, that's huge. Obviously, if you win, even better. But I think you have to win like 4 or 5 of these games because of how close it is. If there was a bigger gap, because you can't only just look ahead of you got to look behind. Like, 1 win by Montreal, for instance, and they're tied with the Union. So I think they need to win like 4 or 5 of these games, and then, the others, a tie, squeeze out a point here and there to be in that final spot. I mean, I'm not even saying where in the standings, but I think that at least would set them up nicely. Ideally, you win every game, but
when you break it down, like NYCFC, DC, Atlanta, and Orlando, those 4 straight matches right there from September 18th to October 2nd, there's a high chance you can get 3 points in every one of those matches. Right. Now, obviously, like I said, 3 of those 4 teams battling for a playoff spot, so it's going to be very chippy. But I believe 2 of them are home matches, so that should be in your favor. But especially that Atlanta match, I mean, you gotta be. Oh, you gotta be. I'm sorry, that one's at Subaru Park, but you gotta beat Atlanta, because that's the team that's directly above you. And I'm just kind of looking at both Atlanta and Toronto's schedules as well. It's similar to what we have to deal with, but again, I just think the Union are a better team than Atlanta and Toronto right now, and so they should be able to jump both those teams. But it's going to be an interesting 7 matches. It looks like both those teams also have 7 matches as well. So it should be an interesting end to the season.
And the other thing is, my last point on this is, of those 8, you are playing, like, right now, Inter Miami, Cincinnati and Columbus are the top 3 teams in the East. They're also the top teams across the league when you look at the West Coast results as well. So yeah, Inter Miami and LA Galaxy are in a battle, top of the league. But of the Inter Miami, Cincinnati, and Columbus, they are, in terms of like their record, they're the 3 of the best teams across the league. So you have in your 8 games, those are 3 really difficult wins. We know that. Obviously, Columbus has been tough to beat. And Miami is tough to beat. And Cincinnati, we actually have beat. But if you can, in those other 5 games, that's what I'm saying. Like, if out of those 5 games, they win like 4 of those 5, if not all 5 of them, now you feel a lot better going up against those top 3 currently. That like, okay, they should be able to at least jump into like 5 or 6, place in the conference.
Yeah.
But on the West, there's a bigger gap. There's the big, like, you've got LA Galaxy, and then there's, by big, I mean like 5 points instead of like 1 point. But from LA Galaxy to LAFC and Real Salt Lake, there's 5 points in between them. Whereas in the East, it's like 1 or 2 points after you get to Cincinnati and down. So that's the gap they got to get into. A lot of numbers, but they can do it.
True.
To answer Franco's question real quick, so no need to worry because Jamaica plays on the 6th and on the 10th against Cuba and then Honduras. But no need to worry because the Union's next match is on the 14th. Now, one thing you would have to worry about is, knock on wood, health. I'll be hoping that Andre Blake comes back healthy. But you should be able, with everything going right, you should be able to have Blake back for that match against Inter Miami on the 14th, which we all know is very important. Should be an interesting one there. And then real quick, so obviously we're talking about international break. I know my people listening are ready for the U.S. men's national team. It's exciting times for the U.S. men's national team, huh? Not only do we have international break, but Pochettino's deal should become final this week, which is really exciting stuff if you're a fan of the U.S. And this is your roster for this next upcoming international break. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of I see a couple of former Unioners, obviously Brandon Aronson to lead it all off here. But it's gonna be exciting international break, especially that's always the first international break after summer is always the most interesting one because now it's like, okay, we're nearing to some more monumental soccer. So it's the 7th, the Saturday. This coming Saturday on, you guys know it, Renee's B-Day. We got a nice little North American rivalry here. U.S. versus Canada should be a lot of fun. And on the 10th, they face off against New Zealand. So it should be fun 2 matches here for the U.S. men's national team. Excited.
Yeah, they've got 18 guys on that roster that were also on the Copa America roster. And you also are dealing with injuries, so you get some new faces in there as well. It is that time of the year when you have, players that are going into preseason or coming at you have MLS which is in season, you guys are in their preseason. The international tournaments right now are pretty funky. So I'm just happy that they finally were able to name a head coach and can start building for the future because you can't game plan. And the U.S. men's national team has a lot of figuring out to do, but it starts with having a coach to figure that out.
And a pretty decent one too. So
yeah,
a lot of excitement for him. It's funny because I remember vividly when Jurgen Klinsmann was hired as the U.S. men's national team coach. Was that 2010? There was a real excitement for U.S. soccer at that point, and I feel it again now. I think there's a lot of excitement again when you get a guy like Pochettino, especially a lot of people watch soccer, know who Mauricio Pochettino is. So it should definitely be exciting. It should be a fun September here.
Yeah,
that's That's right, guys. So as we're wrapping up here on a Tuesday edition of PHLY Union Podcast, guys, we have a little bit of a break. Until September 14th, we'll see the Union again, but we will still have content here for you. So you want to make sure you guys are subscribed. Even better, become a diehard. Never too late to become a diehard. Awesome stuff that we got going on here over at PHLY Sports. Guys, if you would, we would truly appreciate if you guys hit that like button and subscribe as well for all things Philadelphia sports. We're also available wherever you stream podcasts. Find us under PHLY Union Podcast. That is Renee Washington. That is Andrew Frazier. Of course, I am JP Zapata. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, DOOP on. We will talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.